Hi there, Jonny here from JonnyLipshamStudios.co.uk, and in today's video we are going to look at managing the low end of your mix. Quite often we can find that there is a build-up of low end frequencies that we don't need in our mix. Mostly because they're either not directly audible, but they still build up, and you get just a build-up of energy, and the result of that is that it muddies up your mix and can make mixing a little bit challenging, and can mean that your mix sounds a little bit muffled and sounds like, you know, somebody's just dropped a duvet or a blanket over your speakers, which is not great. And so when you're starting out, your solution might be that you might think logically, hey, I just need to boost the highs. If I just give a big high shelf boost to my high end, all of that will go away. Well, yeah, it's not really going to work like that, because bass energy is a lot stronger, a lot more powerful than upper frequencies, because lower frequencies, the waveforms are longer, so they have a lot more energy to them. For example, a low E string on the bass guitar, just played open, is a 40 cycles per second, I think it's per second, waveform. So it's about 16 feet long, approximately. And so it takes quite a while to disperse, and it has a lot of energy to it. Whereas something that is 5 or 6 octaves higher than that is much shorter, and the peaks and troughs of that waveform are much tighter packed, so it has a lot less energy to it. So bass energy really does build up. So what you have to do is you have to clear some of that out, otherwise your mix is going to be really muddy. So I'm going to show you how my philosophy on dealing with this and my approach to dealing with this has changed. Early on, when I started out, one of the things I was advised to deal with this particular, cloudiness and muddiness in your mix because of low end energy, was to apply a high pass filter to everything, apart from something that is a low pitched instrument like a bass or a tuba or a kick drum. Those you kind of wouldn't high pass filter, or you would, but you wouldn't high pass filter as, up to the same point. So what I was told was you apply a high pass filter to about 100 hertz on everything apart from the bass or the kick drum. And so this is what I did. I high passed at 100 hertz, and I did that right across everything apart from the bass guitar and the kick drum. Result was, sometimes my mixes were a little bit too thin, because I'd cleared out too much low end, and it sounded a bit thin and a bit unnatural. So we want to avoid that. So what I do now is it's a little bit halfway house. I will still use high pass filtering quite extensively, but I'm not quite so fixated about a particular number. Nowadays it's kind of like I will high pass where it's needed, so that my mix still has some weight to it and some body to it. So let me show you how I used to do it, and then I will show you how I now do it, and hopefully you will see that how I do it now is better and much more natural sounding than just kind of like saying high pass to 100 hertz or else, which was my old method. Okay, so what I've done here on these buses is I've put a Pro EQ native plugin from Presonus onto each of these buses, apart from the bass bus and the drum bus. I'm going to leave those alone, and we're going to deal with just the main instrumentation. And if I just open this one and hit the edit button, and if I switch this on, you'll see that I have a high pass filter set to 100. This is very much my old method. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it off for now, and we're going to play the mix, and you'll hear the mix completely bare and natural. There are no plugins on this mix at all. Yes, I have a delay and a reverb. I got those switched off at the moment. In fact, we'll make sure that we got them switched off. and I have an EQ on those as well, but we're not gonna worry about those just now. And so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna play this completely without any plugins, and then we're gonna bring the high pass filters in. Okay, so here we go. Love comes from above. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand into our promised land. You open the door. Alright, so that was without any high pass filtering whatsoever. Let's go back to the same spot, and this time we're going to turn those EQs on. Here we go. Love comes from above. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand into our promised land. Alright, so hopefully there you heard a bit of a difference. Certainly the vocal was a bit brighter sounding, had a bit more clarity to it, and the piano certainly poked through a little bit more and didn't sound quite so dark and muddy. And the Fender Rhodes as well, because the Fender Rhodes has a lot of low-end energy to it. It's just that type of instrument. So you have to be quite careful about scooping out low end from the Fender Rhodes, because you don't want it to be too thin, but again, you kind of don't want it to be too muddy and domineering in your mix either. So let's play this again from the same place, and what we'll do is we'll A-B a bit. We'll kick this on and off, and we'll see if we can really hear some of these elements kind of cloudy and kind of a bit more clear. Here we go. Love comes from above. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand into our promised land. Alright, so hopefully there, as we're A-Bing, you could hear kind of the difference a little bit. Now this is relatively subtle, but it's going to add up over the course of your entire mix. Now, what we could do, just to exaggerate things, is we could just take this channel, hold shift, and take this channel, and remove those Pro EQs. And what we could do here is we could edit this. We could roll this up even further. Let's take this up to say, 148. And what we'll do is we'll copy this over to these other channels. So we're exaggerating it a little bit. And hopefully you'll hear the difference. Now this is likely to be a little bit too thin. So let's start with them off, and then we'll bring them in. Love comes from above. Hang on, I forgot to set this other channel as well. Alright, so let's take all of those. There we go. Let's try that again. Love comes from above. Let's kick them on. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand into our promised land. You open the door. Alright, so I've exaggerated that by quite a bit, so you can hear definitely the contrast quite a bit more. And now I would say that this sounds a little bit too thin, so we wouldn't be doing that. Alright, so let's take all of these Pro EQs out entirely. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I do this a little bit more these days. What I tend to do nowadays is I will find the sweet spot on each individual channel where the high pass filter needs to be, and then I would also scoop out some of the low mids as well, because you can definitely get build up there, particularly if you're using the same microphone for all of the elements of your song. So if we go and have a look at what we've got in this song here, we've got doubled vocals here, and then we've got 3 backing vocals, a soprano saxophone, we've got trumpet, tenor sax, and then we got these extra additional trumpet and saxophone here. These are all recorded with the same microphone, because when I wrote this song and I recorded this song, I decided I was going to have a little bit of a challenge element to this and basically do everything with just one microphone to see what we ended up with. Now, if it's a particularly cheap, low-cost microphone, then the EQ curve of that microphone might be that there is a bit of a boost at the bottom end and a bit of a boost at the top end as well. So you kind of have to look out for what the EQ curve of your mic is, because as you start adding tracks when you're recording, that EQ curve is going to get copied across to every single channel. So, you know, we're talking about 10 channels here with the same microphone. So that EQ curve is going to add up. So in the particular case of this song, the mic I was using was a Behringer C1 microphone, which is quite cheap. It's a very good microphone, but it's pretty cheap. And it had kind of like this interesting little boost between about 250 and about 450. So when mixing this song, I mean, I've basically just zeroed out this mix. But when mixing this song, I had to basically go and scoop out not just the low end, but also that particular area as well. So let's see if we can actually do that a little bit here. So let's grab the Pro EQ and we'll get to work on this lead vocal over here. And we'll start from the same place we were before.
Love comes from above. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand into our promised land. Love comes from above. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand into our promised land. You open the door and my world fills up with light. I'm sliced to the core, but I'm gonna do what's right. We'll drink wine, everything's just fine.
Alright, so I've scooped out low end, high pass filter around about 85, and then I boost and swept along to see if I could find some of this low mid stuff that I was talking about. And I've done that. I've pulled out here a bit of 258 and then a bit of 480 as well. And that seemed to really clear things up quite a bit with the vocal. And then I pulled out some of this upper mid here. This is a little bit of a nasally frequency that is unique to me because of the way I sing. Pulled out a little bit of the sibilance here and then boosted up at the top end to give it a little bit of air as well. Alright, so I will copy that across to the double vocal because that's essentially the same thing. And then what I might do is I might actually copy this across to my other vocal tracks as well. Because it's essentially just these are all me. Let's see if that's cleared things up as well. Cumulatively.
Love comes from above. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand into our promised land.
Let's actually A-B these, I think, is what we will do.
Love comes from above.
And without.
My Chanel, do you not know? No
With.
matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand into our promised land.
Alright, so I think that that's cleared up particularly the vocals, and made them kind of shine out a little bit more. So I think you get the general idea. I could go on and on with this, but I think you get the general idea about scooping out low end and also some of the low mids. But you want to beware and be listening as you go that you're not making your mix too thin as you go. If you are, back everything off, back your high pass filters off. I hope that this was a helpful video for you, and I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.